She left her dorm room on a February evening in 2004. She crashed her car on a quiet New Hampshire road. A bus driver stopped. She said she was fine. She said she had already called for help. She had not. By the time police arrived, 19 minutes later, Maura Murray was gone. She has never been found. And nobody, not her family, not the FBI, not the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit, has ever been able to explain what happened in those 19 minutes. On February 9th, 2004, Maura Murray sent her professors an email. She said there had been a death in the family. She needed a week away. No one in her family had died. That lie was the last thing anyone at the university ever heard from her. Where she was going and why she lied to get there has never been answered. At approximately 8 p.m. on February 9th, 2004, a resident living near a rural New Hampshire road heard something coming from the woods. She described it as a blood-curdling scream. Police were already at the scene of the crashed car. They never confirmed the sound. Maura Murray was never seen again. She left her dorm room on a February evening in 2004. She crashed her car on a quiet New Hampshire road. A bus driver pulled over. She said she was fine. She said she had already called for help. She had not. By the time police arrived, 19 minutes later, Maura Murray was gone. No footprints leading deep into the woods. No confirmed direction of travel. No phone calls after that evening. No body ever found. She was 21 years old, a nursing student, a former West Point cadet, an elite athlete who had qualified for the national championships. And somewhere between that crashed car and that dark New Hampshire road, she simply ceased to exist. It is now 2026. The FBI still has her file open. The New Hampshire Cold Case Unit is still investigating. Her sister Julie has spent the last year interviewing everyone who knew Maura, trying to take back control of her story. And her father, Fred, has spent 22 years refusing to accept that he will never know what happened. Welcome to Closed Case File. This is the Maura Murray case, and by the end of this video, I want to know what you think happened. Subscribe. New cases every week. Before we talk about what happened on Route 112, you need to know who Maura Murray was, because she deserves to be remembered as a person first. Maura was born on May 4th, 1982, in Brockton, Massachusetts, the fourth of 5 children in the Murray family. Fred and Lori Murray raised their kids to work hard, and Maura took that seriously from an early age. She was not just a good student. She was exceptional. As a high school sophomore, she qualified for the U.S. National Scholastic Outdoor Championships in the 2-mile event and finished 33rd in the country. She attended the United States Military Academy at West Point, one of the most selective institutions in the United States. She later transferred to the University of Massachusetts Amherst, where she enrolled in the intensive nursing program. Her sister Julie described her this way. In high school, Maura volunteered at a nursing home where their mother worked. She loved talking to the residents, telling them stories, making them laugh. Nursing was not a career path for Maura. It was a calling. She would blush, Julie said, if you mentioned her achievements. She was not doing any of it for attention. Before we go any further, based on what you know so far, does this sound like someone who would walk away from her life? Keep that question in mind, because it becomes important. The week before Maura Murray disappeared, something changed. On February 5th, 2004, 4 days before she vanished, Maura was involved in a minor car accident near West Point, where her father Fred was stationed. It was the first of 2 accidents that week. 2 days later, on February 7th, Fred drove to UMass to help Maura look at replacement cars. She was planning to buy a new vehicle. She was planning ahead. She was planning to stay. That same evening, Maura borrowed Fred's cart to attend a party near campus. On the way home, she had another accident. Minor damage. She was unhurt, but it was the second incident in 4 days. Then came February 9th. That afternoon, Maura accessed an ATM. Surveillance footage captured her in a dark jacket and jeans. It is the last confirmed image of Maura Murray that exists. Later that afternoon, she emailed her professors and her academic advisor. She said there had been a death in the family. She would be away for a week. No family member had died. She sent a brief, affectionate email to her boyfriend, Army Cadet Bill Rausch. She did not explain where she was going. She packed her car, textbooks, running gear, birth control, accident forms from the recent incidents. Her dorm room had been cleaned out, boxes stacked neatly, photos taken down from the walls. Her sister Julie later said that what she took with her indicated she planned to return. You do not pack accident forms if you are running away forever. The night before she disappeared, Maura made a series of phone calls. She called motels. She called rental agencies. She called a fellow nursing student. She never explained any of these calls to anyone. One call stood out to investigators. She dialed a number connected to a man who had once owned a condo near Bretton Woods, the area she appeared to be driving toward. The condo was not in use at the time. Investigators were never able to determine why she called. She also bought approximately $40 worth of alcohol before heading north. The reason has never been established. Before we get to what happened on that road, ask yourself this: why does a person buy alcohol, pack carefully, lie to her professors about a family death, and drive north into New Hampshire alone at night without telling anyone where she is going? There are three possible answers, and none of them are comfortable. At 7:27 p.m. on February 9th, 2004, a local resident named Cecilia Morez reported a car off the road near her home on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. The road is also called Wild Amonoosuc Road. It winds through forested hills about 2 hours north of UMass. There is a hairpin turn on that stretch. Maura's car did not make it. The airbags had deployed. The windshield was cracked. The car had struck a tree and come to rest off the road. A local school bus driver named Butch Atwood was on his way home when he saw the car and the young woman. He pulled over. He asked if she was okay. She said she was just shaken up. He offered to call the police for her. She said, "No, please don't. I already called AAA." She had not called AAA. Atwood pulled into his driveway nearby and called 911 himself. At 7:46 p.m., 19 minutes after Moores first reported the crash, the first officer arrived at the scene. Maura Murray was gone. There were no footprints leading deep into the woods. No direction of travel was established. No confirmed sightings were reported from that evening. Investigators searched the area. They brought in dogs. They searched the woods, the trails, the waterways. Nothing. And then, at approximately 8 p.m., a resident living nearby told police she heard something coming from the direction of the woods. She described it as a blood-curdling scream. Police never confirmed the report. At this point in the case, what do you think happened in those 19 minutes? Drop your theory in the comments. I will be reading every single one. Investigators faced an immediate problem. There was no evidence of a crime. There was also no evidence that Maura had simply walked away. There was very little evidence of anything. Police initially considered the possibility that she had chosen to leave voluntarily. Her unusual preparations in the days before lent some support to that theory, but her family pushed back hard. Fred Murray began pressing investigators almost immediately. He wanted the case treated as a criminal matter, not a missing persons case. He spent thousands of dollars hiring private investigators. He filed lawsuits to gain access to case files. He gave interviews. He appeared on America's Most Wanted. The tips that came in led investigators to dead ends. Lou Berry, a former police chief hired by the family, spent months piecing together a timeline of Maura's movements. His conclusion? She was probably a victim of foul play. He believed she accepted a ride from the wrong person, not necessarily against her will initially. He thought she may have wanted to leave the area without involving police because her New Hampshire license had been suspended for a speeding ticket. She did not want officers at that scene. Someone offered her a ride, and somewhere after that, something went wrong. In 2009, 5 years after Maura vanished, the case was transferred to New Hampshire's newly established cold case unit. It was added to the unit's active files. The designation, Suspicious Missing Person. The FBI has her case file open. An age progression image was developed showing what Maura might look like today. The New Hampshire Department of Justice has issued tip requests repeatedly over the years. As of 2026, no one has ever been publicly named as a suspect. No one has ever been charged. 22 years of investigation, journalism, podcasts, documentaries, and online investigation have produced three competing theories. None has been proven. None has been ruled out. The first theory, and the one Maura's family believes, is that she accepted a ride from someone on Route 112, and that person harmed her. Private investigator Lou Berry concluded this was most likely. Fred Murray has stated publicly that he believes his daughter was abducted and is dead. Supporting this theory, the scream reported by the nearby resident, the absence of any footprints suggesting she walked far, the complete absence of any contact from Maura after that night. If she had run away voluntarily, the thinking goes, she would have eventually made contact. 22 years is a long time to stay silent. The second theory was proposed by journalist James Renner in his book True Crime Addict. Renner suggested that Maura may have planned her own disappearance to escape a pending credit card fraud case that could have prevented her from qualifying for a nursing license. He suggested she may have wanted to start over elsewhere. Maura's family has disputed this theory directly. Her sister Julie points to what she packed: accident forms, textbooks, items suggesting return. You do not pack for a permanent disappearance the way Maura packed her car that night. The third theory is the simplest and perhaps the most painful: that Maura, shaken and disoriented after the crash, possibly having consumed some of the alcohol she purchased, wandered into the wilderness, and that New Hampshire's February temperatures did the rest. The problem with this theory, extensive searches with cadaver dogs have turned up nothing. No remains, no clothing, no trace. New Hampshire's wilderness is vast, but 22 years of searching has not produced a single confirmed piece of evidence that Maura Murray is in those woods. You have now heard all three theories. You have heard the evidence. You have heard what her family believes. If you had to choose one, right now, what do you think happened to Maura Murray? Drop your answer below. I will read the comments and respond. Maura Murray's family has not stopped. Her sister Julie launched a podcast in 2025 called The Untold Story of Maura Murray. It features exclusive interviews with people who knew Maura, people who have never spoken publicly before. Julie has more than 287,000 followers on TikTok, where she answers questions and provides updates. She is not waiting for investigators to tell Maura's story. She is telling it herself. Julie has said that what the family wants has changed over 22 years. What began as wanting to find Maura and bring her home has evolved into the sobering desire to simply know, to have an answer, to understand what happened on that road. She told a reporter, "We have grappled with the fact that we will most likely never see Maura again, but I have never once thought that I needed to be okay with never having an answer." Fred Murray has said the same thing in different words over 2 decades of interviews. He believes his daughter was murdered. He believes someone knows what happened, and he has never stopped believing that person will eventually be held accountable. The New Hampshire Cold Case Unit continues to accept tips. The FBI still has her file open. The age progression image shows what Maura might look like at 43. Maura Murray disappeared 4 days after Facebook launched. Her case is called the first crime mystery of the social media age. It unfolded in public in a way that no missing person case had ever unfolded before. Forums, message boards, maps, police logs, thousands of people across the world examining every detail. It also changed how missing persons cases are handled in New England. New Hampshire did not have a cold case unit before Maura's case. Her disappearance was cited by the proponents of creating that unit. The unit was established, and her case was one of the first added to it. But the internet attention came with a cost. Maura Murray, as her sister has said publicly, became less of a person and more of a symbol. The girl who vanished on the side of the road, a mystery to be solved, a puzzle to be assembled. Julie Murray's work in 2025 and 2026 has been about reversing that, about making Maura a person again, the girl who volunteered at nursing homes, who finished 33rd in the country in the 2-mile run, who blushed when people mentioned her achievements, who packed accident forms because she thought she was coming back. The last confirmed image of Maura Murray is from ATM surveillance footage. A young woman in a dark jacket and jeans. February 9th, 2004. A few hours after that image was recorded, she was standing beside a crashed car on a dark New Hampshire road in the snow. And then she was gone. If you know something about what happened to Maura Murray, or if you have a tip, however small, the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit tip line is active. That information is in the description below. Drop your theory in the comments. At what point in this video did the case shift for you? I read every comment on this channel. If this is the kind of investigation you want to follow, cases that the news cycle moves past but the questions never resolve, subscribe to Closed Case File. I will be here every week for Maura Murray and for the family still looking for answers.